Was that a take? Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody who's here live in Amsterdam, and welcome everybody at home who is watching this panel on filmmaking. We have some beautiful filmmakers here today. You all have films playing at the In Edit Festival, and I've all seen them. They're beautiful, so I could recommend to everybody to come and see them. I'll start by just introducing all three of you, and then we'll have a discussion. The theme of today's In Edit Festival is What's the Story? So we'll be, for a large part, talking, if all goes well, about story making, storytelling in documentary filmmaking, which I think is an interesting enough topic. So first of all, we have Frank Scheffer here. You are a cinematographer and a documentary film producer and maker, if I understand correctly. And among other things, you made Conducting Mahler, a trilogy of films on Frank Zappa, and a film on John Cage. And yeah, your work has been featured in a lot of festivals and museums around the world. And your beautiful documentary film that's playing at In Edit, Inner Landscape, tells about the creation of a chamber opera that was composed by a Chinese opera composer, and he's working together with this Dutch new ensemble. Very interesting, a lot about intercultural communication, I think. So then we have Sanne Rovers, and you are also a filmmaker, and your films, I think, are lighthearted, playful, and carry a nostalgia for freedom. And also, your films have been played in a large range of film festivals around the world. You've been nominated for the Prix de Jeunesse and the Prix Europa and IDFA. You've played at IDFA with your long film, The Long River Slides. And that's the English translation of Water Wieg Me, a film about the Kift that's playing here at the festival.
Actually, it's not playing at the festival,
but I'm sorry.
If people want to see it, then you can watch it on Tweedok in the Netherlands, and outside of the Netherlands at the Norient Film Festival. It's also streamed. So that's a possibility to watch it also. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're making me blush.
Just promote my film.
Well, I've seen it and it's very good. And it's also, I think, narratively very interesting. There's a lot of stories featuring in it. And yeah, we'll talk a bit about that later. And then lastly, we have Duco Donk. Your film premiered at the festival yesterday. And it's called Jimmy is Punk. A story about, of the film, of the band Panic. And you are a video editor, and you used to be a pop musician, I was told. And your bio says that after editing...
I still am a musician, of course.
Oh, I didn't know.
You don't just stop being a musician.
What do you play?
I play guitar, and I sing.
And you're still playing in a band, or just...
I'm playing in a duo at this moment with another guitar player.
Oh, well, interesting. Maybe we can check it out if you...
Yeah.
This is your chance to promote it.
No. I just do that for fun. And I believe in development in different... I play chess, I make music, I like to write stuff, and I love to make film. And, I'm not the kind of person to do just one thing.
You're a man with many talents.
Like you said, I'm an editor, but I've also directed other things, but mainly for Philips, actually. So that was not public, but internal communication, stuff like that. And of course, as an editor, you're closely working with directors all the time. Mm-hmm. Only you make 10 times as much movies.
Yeah.
So, you learn a lot during 30 years of editing. So, I'm not simply. I promote myself as an editor because it pays the bills, and I made this movie actually to do my own thing, because there are always so many interests, for stakeholders who determine everything, the form, the length. But this film, I could do just whatever I wanted, so that's what I did.
Yeah, and
that's a luxury. That's a luxury, actually.
My first question was for you, because you made this fascinating movie about one of the first, if not the first, punk band in the Netherlands called Panic, and the movie is largely consists of archive material, both audio and video. Yes. So I want to ask you about that, of course. Like, how do you tell a story if you have no recent footage? But also, when I asked you, like, is there anything you want to talk about in the panel, you actually emailed me the following: I might explain why I consider most music documentaries good television at best, but mostly an insult to the art of filmmaking. So I thought, let's hit it off. You got me curious. What's going on there?
Well, the music documentary has a couple of problems. So there is a large portion of music documentaries that are, say, promotion for a pop musician. And they consist mainly of interviews. That is, of course, if you say documentary is looking at reality, then making an interview is creating your own reality. So that is already a bit. So if let's condense, say, 50% of the documentaries. What will we see? We see old men talking, some old women talking. Then we see young musicians playing a little bit of music, but just for 2 seconds, and then talk, talk, talk. Old men talking, some old women talking, and then tiny little bit of music. So that's, if you look at that as a whole, all these movies are about getting old, and it could be a perfect study of the aging process. And they're always talking about these good times. They had this fantastic show they went to, and he was there, and he was there, and there's someone talking. And well, if you want to talk about storytelling, then all the directors and all the producers say, "Oh, we make the interviews and we let them tell the story, and then we put it together from the interviews." So I'm an accomplice in this. I've made many programs like that, but I consider them to be television programs because they don't use the basic rules of theater. The movie is a theater, and one of the rules is that something needs to happen. You're acting something. Something happens. The good documentaries, you see things happening. But let me give an example. There's a great documentary about Ginger Baker. The guy goes after his subject and he annoys him. Ginger Baker hits him with a stick. So that is, I would say a Michael Moore kind of style. You interact with your subject. There's something happening. That is a different thing than just, you sit there, put the light there, put a little backlight, put a little filter on the window.
So what did you do with your film?
I made a few laws for my film. That is, I would not use any material that was not from the 70s. I would not have any look back on anything, because I wanted you to look at something and not look back at something. And I don't pretend to make the perfect documentary or so, but it's my idea that there are too many problems with a music documentary. So many films annoy me so much.
But would you say it's because it's almost too respectful with regard to
they make
artists?
Fucking saints of the musicians. Like, I went to the opening movie here. It annoyed me tremendously. It was really an agony to see a multi-million-dollar production so beautifully made and I can tell you one thing: nothing happens.
Well, I do.
There was a little bit of archive material in there that sort of reminded me even of my own movie. And I said, "Oh yeah, that was fun," but it was just 10 seconds. And then I see an old drooling. You know, they had to give subtitles to the man, and it was pathetic. It was, I didn't know this guy. You know, I go see a movie to see something new.
Yeah. So
and
I think
then let me summarize.
Yeah.
So the other problem with music documentaries is that they're made for fans. You know, people love this guy, so they want to see everything of this guy. And here, you know, what he has for breakfast or so.
Yeah, there's also the scene always when they are like in the studio and then he sneezed and everybody's like, I know what you mean. But the fun thing I think about this panel that we've invited 3 documentary makers, you are all 3 doing something very different. You didn't use a lot of talking heads and reminiscing of the good old days in the 70s when Bob Dylan farted and everybody laughed. So let's thank you for this. I think you made a really good point. But now let's see how could things be better then. So how do you tell a story? So in your case, you've tried to transport the audience to a different time and place. I think you did that very well. Sanne, can you tell me something about the way that what kind of movie did you want to make? Did you have an inspiration, or how did you approach your subject?
Yeah, actually, it was some years ago, and then I saw Searching for the Wrong-Eyed Jesus, which is like a documentary where they're really searching for the soul of the southern states of the United States, and this was like a mix of like a road movie, stories, music, documentary scenes, and they were all like intertwined landscapes. And then I thought, I really thought it was a really nice form of making a film with all these different kind of elements in one music film. So I thought I would like to do that as well. And I was already loving the Kift, which is like a brass band, punk band. And when I was pitching the idea, they immediately were with me. I wanted to make it also together with them, not making a film about the Kift, because they were also at this point. They're 30 years at the band. They're getting old, and so. They also asked me, don't you want to make something about this, about the band getting old? I said, no, that's not interesting for me at all, because I want to make something new. I want to make something, and they're really, they sing about the sad part of life, you know, the marges of the life, people that are like they're not like winning the game.
They're a bit on the outside. Maybe.
Yes. And then I thought it would be really nice to make a boat movie. So what we did was we found a boat, and then we totally painted it and made it like into a Kift house or boat, and we invited people to come along on our journey to tell their story connected to old music of the Kift, but he also made 2 new songs connected to the stories that I found, especially for the film. So I was searching for stories that, because they have a big fan base, and I asked, okay, do you have your own life story connected to a song, or do you have a life story that is connected to the themes that the Kift is singing about? And so we made this connection, and we made this boat movie with old new music, stories, landscapes, and also a little bit about the Kift, but in a way that it was its story in the film as well. Like a sad story also about the Kift. Yeah,
it's interesting because it feels like a journey through stories, and we are looking at the Kift looking at those stories of the people and making something out of it. So I thought that was very interesting and layered, and you made some really interesting choices there. And also I really liked that it was a lot about the music, because you can see them making those songs. And I also thought, Frank, that was very interesting about your documentary, because we actually see this opera being made. And the most interesting thing I thought was that you can also see how it goes wrong and the struggles of it, which you almost never see in music documentaries. Like that's also like the artistic struggle. Well, that sounds like drugs and rock and roll, but the struggle of creating something. So I was wondering, could you maybe introduce your film a bit and tell us about why you wanted to capture that specific aspect?
Yes, let me first go back to what you said before about music documentaries in general. These kind of films refer to the people who are making the music and not the music itself.
Yeah.
Because they show little music and a lot of talking.
Yeah.
My films are about the music itself. The music itself is the storyline. I'm not interested if Igor Stravinsky drank a bottle of Chivas Regal every day. You know what I mean? I'm interested in what he put inside of the music and how I can transform that into my medium, film. So I think it's impossible to make film like music. I mean, film is film, it's the eyes, and music is much more abstract and has connects much more to the universe in that sense of associations and depth. And I kind of decided at a certain moment in my life whether I would continue with pop music, you know. I mean, I was a big fan of Frank Zappa, and I started to make video clips. Yeah. And I was supposed to do the comeback video of Lou Reed at a certain moment. And then I produced that myself, so there was a lot of money involved. I was young, I could earn money and get a career in that. And then I was thinking if what I wanted with my life. And I didn't want to be a filmmaker that makes, that's working for, let's say, advertisement for the music. I wanted to make films which are standing on their own and would live. These video clips would live for a couple of months and then would go, and I would have worked for a couple of months very hard to create some art, and it would be thrown away, and I didn't accept that. So I decided that I wanted to find the kind of music in which I could level my idea of quality of cinema. So automatically I came to serious music, because there are people, you know, composers want to say something, you know, something they want to communicate.
You don't think pop music wants to communicate?
No, I do know. I mean, I love pop music. I made films about Frank Zappa, not that it is particularly pop music, but it's in that genre. And I work with Brian Eno. I mean, and I just worked the last couple of days last week on time opera of Sakamoto, which is an old hero of me, you know. So that's a huge honor to do that. But no, my point is, my films are, since you were asking that, the storytelling of my films is what's inside of the music. So I think I make real music documentaries.
Yes.
While the other documentaries are,
yeah, well,
in my eyes, something else.
I'm almost sorry to say that we seem to agree very much on what is important in a real film. And you know, you can relate to what's happening. Like I told, I'm a musician too, so I think that helped me a lot in putting the film together the way I did. That is actually entirely based on music and how it was made and how people reacted to it. That's all that it is about. There's nothing more than that, actually.
Yeah.
And the whole story is actually fake. It's a very thin story I told, in a voiceover, very unusual these days.
I wanted to ask about that as well.
I consider that to be part of the old-fashioned 70s shape of the movie. The form,
And Sanne?
No, I thought for me the music is also what the music means to the people, or the comfort that music can give, or the power that music can give. That I think is also a really important part for my film. And also I'm actually at the moment also making a music documentary, and again it's about this power of music, that people can give something extra, or it can help them or give them like strength. And I think that is something that I find very interesting. And if you can watch this film and the music can also like take you over in the film, I think that is also very important to see where the stretches are, because you have this, I don't know, De Wereld Draait Door, for example, they have like this 1 minute of music, because otherwise people lose their interest, and it's interesting to see how you can use the music to really lift the film also, and for the viewer.
Yeah, because that's of course interesting that you're all talking about capturing music, but at the same time you have to capture it through people. Right? You're filming people doing stuff and making sounds.
That depends. I mean, I believe in a kind of transformation of the music, the language of music, what's inside of the language that a specific composer wants to speak and wants to, convey meaning. Because that's the difference with pop music and serious composers. I mean, serious composers, they put a lot of energy and effort in a meaningful language of the music. And in my idea of transformation, I can look at the structure, how they, the form, the character of the music, the method of working of the composer. All of these things I can transform into the language of film. So I'm very interested in what music is in itself. And serious composers, especially the ones that I choose that I want to make films about, they have to say something which then relates to life and to the world, and they use the language of music to convey the stories, and I try to transform that into my medium, which is a little bit more abstract, I guess, but I think, film exists for 100 years, and composers are, composing for hundreds of years more, so we could learn something from them.
Yeah,
because they're both mediums in time. They both work with the rhythm, and they both work with the working of the memory. You heard something, you're in the now, you predict what you're going to hear. All of these processes, film and music, are very similar, and I'm very interested in that aspect.
Yeah, maybe also to make that concrete, there's a big part of your film when they're actually trying to translate a way to notate percussion in Chinese opera to the notation of in the Western world, because they have to play with the Western ensemble, and you can see how they're trying to find a middle ground and trying to communicate, and how the music as it is written down is transforming into something new. So this is actually quite literal, I think, a translation of those sounds into something that you can see, right?
But I believe in the end it's always about human. Also for the serious composer, and also if they make very abstract music, I think in the end it's all about our human existence, our human perspective. For example, in Time Opera of Sakamoto now, he, by the science discovered by now that time doesn't exist. I mean, what does that mean for a composer? I mean, he works with time and it doesn't exist. What does that mean? It has consequences. I mean, if you want to think about that serious, it has serious consequences. So it's very interesting when you then, with the latest discovery in science, actually time is being created in the mind of the human. I mean, that's what scientists say.
Kind of rolling his eyes.
How does it work concrete in your film? Because it has consequences. Does he have a solution for this, or how does he work with this idea?
No, yeah, there is a composer who took that very serious, which is Edgar Varese. You know, the big hero of Frank Zappa, which made me, in the end, becoming very fascinated when Frank Zappa wrote on the sleeve of the record, "We're only in it for the money. The present-day composer refuses to die, Edgar Varese." And I mean, I was 13, 14, and I read that and I thought, wow, that's interesting, you know. But in my way of working, each and every piece of music and composer is different. So I have to reinvent with every film how to look at it and how I want to make the film. When I make, with John Cage, I experimented with chance operations. So not making choices like we always do, but asking questions, and then the I Ching would give me the answer. It's a way to make films. And it's a very liberating way to make films.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I would love everybody to have that experience, to get out of the cage of your choice making, the burden of choice. But then, Elliot Carter is the opposite. Before he puts one note down, he, takes it. I say that with the gummetje. I don't know the English word, but
let's call it a pencil eraser.
Yeah, he erases it 100 times, so he's very determined. And so there are many different ways to look at it.
So can I ask, because I wanted to ask about that human perspective. So there's this idea that humans perceive through stories, and we understand through stories. And if you show a story, you can identify with the hero or the persona in that story. So I read this interesting article in The Guardian the other day that said, okay, all documentary filmmakers, when they want to have funding, they have to upfront say, this is the story, this is the hero, this is the moment supreme, this is the resolution, this transformation is central to the story. And that's actually maybe quite a limited format. So you've all experimented with forms of story, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think of that? Do you think that there's a tyranny of the story in documentary world, and how do you deal with that? Maybe Dico, if you want to start.
There is a tyranny. You can get rid of it, but then you're as broke as I am, as I had no funding whatsoever for my movie. We did a little bit of fundraising a couple of years ago when it was digitized, but the budget was never more than 3,000 euros, I think.
But you did include a story, the voiceover, which I thought was,
yeah. Yeah, did you like the voiceover? Well,
it was also a bit funny because it's at the
react to things I heard, because I agree so much that documentary film should show us something of being human, of humanity. That's a very important thing, and if it doesn't, then what are we looking at, Actually, my film played a year ago in Paris. I was rewarded with the Grand Prix of the Fame Film Festival, and jury said to me, well, the last sentence of their report was that it shows us our humanity. And, it's not so profound in the music sense. They called my film an ethno-musicological film. And in fact, that is true, but yeah.
So, but did you feel that your film needed that movie or that story aspect in order to work? Because, for those who haven't seen it, it's a long stretch of just concert, right?
Yeah, but you got to know where you are, what it's about. Yeah. If you just jump into it, you don't know what you're seeing, then you have too many questions. What is this? What is that? And so I build it up in a way, first of all, they think this guy can't make a movie. It looks terrible, That's the part where it actually goes to the concert. But let me get back to this thing about being human and connected to the things I said before. Like, so many movies are about getting old and everything is behind you. There's nothing to... They don't want much anymore, these old guys, so in some ways. My movie is about being young. That is the subject of the movie, in fact.
But it did make me a bit nostalgic for a time when I wasn't even alive. So in that sense... felt old.
That's a strange thing. There were a lot of people in the audience yesterday who were involved in all this, and it was nostalgia for them, but not for me, and not for my son, for instance, who was there too. I tried to make a movie for everybody, not just the punk scene, although they see back what they had seen already. They knew it already, and they just love to see it again. But so it was your nostalgia too now. Well, what interested me was that the way this crowd gets crazy with music. It's nothing. It's just one guitar, one bass, a drummer, and a singer, and everybody goes crazy. How can this happen? The young heart is aroused. You see these children with red cheeks and stuff like that. It's
demolishing.
But is the narrative of the film going through? It's going to this ecstasy of the music in the end, I can imagine, or.
No, the band has to work for that.
But in the film, do you work in your editing? You do choose a narrative. Otherwise, because what leads you to the? There's always this point where you want to bring your viewer to. I can imagine
well, there is okay. At first, you think it's about panic about this band, but during the movie, I shift to the public. You get closer and closer to the public, and in the end, you're actually just looking at the public and see what they do and how they experience it. Becomes more important. And there's this one scene where the camera goes behind the drums and the sound man follows him, so the sound changes, becomes a bit strange, and then the one cameraman goes into the crowd and it gets a bit messy, and that's a sort of important point that I feel like you're going into the depth of it.
But yes. No, I mean, I'm puzzled for a long time about the idea of what a documentary is, and to a music documentary, like a box of what you said in the beginning, like documentary is showing the reality. The kind of thing.
Using reality to tell a story.
To tell a story.
To tell a story, but I'm puzzled with that. Because, I mean, what's reality? I mean, the only reality when you look at the screen and see a film is a photon jumping back from the screen to your eyes. The rest is all illusion. It's not there.
This
it's
is my
No,
kind
but
of
I think the whole idea of that the documentary is in the end very subjective because of the editing, because of the camera.
Of
so
course.
I think that is clear. For me, it's clear.
Yeah,
but if you the question was about the how to get the storyline, no? And I think what is a problem now, because you have all these podcasts also, which is also with reality, and that every real story should have like this perfect storyline, which is not true, because the reality is like not a Hollywood storyline in 3 acts. So I think that is kind of what, with the, especially with these documentary series now, that they really have, that people want to watch, and you have this like, how do you say, cliffhanger, but that's not how reality works. So that's, I think, kind of limiting the ways of how to tell stories in documentary. I think that is like something that is happening now that kind of scares me. What I usually do is I have made some like mosaic. I don't know how it's called in English. Mosaic yeah. Documentaries. So you have all these different storylines that in the end are one film. So that is kind of a construction. And then you still have to find out which is the story where you lead everything to. How can you like tell all the stories together that it really get you into the film and into this feeling of the music and also of the of the whole how do you say atmosphere of the film, and I think that is really an editing puzzle for finding this
because I can also imagine it's also about maybe control. So in how far do you say, okay, this is the story that I want to shoot, now I'm going to shoot some images and I'm going to like squash everybody into that storyline, and then I have my beautiful catharsis moment? Or do you lead the material that you shoot, actually let it lead you in making something like that? Or is there a cooperation? What about control? How can you force reality into your story format?
Yeah, for me it's totally different, of course. First of all, I don't think about audience at all. Secondly, I don't know a storyline. I see it more as processes. You know, something is going. I define my work also as work in process, in the sense that I can make a film which has different outlets. It can be live, with live performance. It can be, and then specially edited for that format, or it can be, for the Rotterdam Film Festival, or now I have a combination in the Holland Festival, in which I think more of it as an event, you know. Yeah. And see, with this film, The Inner Landscape, I kind of created my subject. I asked the composer to write an autonomous piece of music for the film. So, I mean, is that fiction then? When I'm doing that, I mean, I create my own subject.
Yeah, but that's what I also did with the Long River Slides. I put otherwise they would have never been on this boat. They would have never met all these people that I found. Then he wouldn't have made these kind of music because he didn't meet the people. So I think as a filmmaker, it's nice to work in your own construct. I like it to find ways that not only to follow the reality, which can be really interesting, but it's also I really like to add something with cinema to this. So with images or stories or it could be anything. And I also, because last year we did the film also IDFA on stage, which was really nice. So we transformed the film into a concert. And also with the film. So part of the film was the beginning of the film was cut, but they did a concert instead, and then we had some parts in the film where they did live music interacting with the film, and afterwards also, and that worked. That really gave also a new element on the film, which was so nice. I really would like to do that. We're actually going to do it next week in Horen. That's really nice to. But the whole idea of not only making documentaries, also made like interactive installations to find the subject and the way to make your own to
reality.
to make your own reality and to focus. I do think that it's to focus your audience on what you would like to show and feel and tell. Yeah, I think that.
But music itself gives this possibilities, as a subject matter.
Yeah, it's totally enriching
it
for
go,
me now.
All directions, and it's so wonderful.
Guys, I'd just like to check if there are any questions here from the audience, and if not, I think we have to wrap it up because we've been talking. It's
time is gone already.
So, are there any questions from the audience?
But time is only in your head.
Yeah, this kind of proves it isn't, right?
It doesn't exist.
Any questions? Yeah, for the people at home, it's totally packed here, but nobody has questions, unfortunately. Okay, then I'd really like to thank you all. I've learned a lot, and I hope everybody who is listening as well. So thanks a lot, and everybody go see these wonderful films. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Zie je uit?